everyone! Today I want to share my top 3 tips for intermittent fasting. A lot of people are curious about trying it, and I learned some things along the way that might help you too. First, let me tell you a story. Imagine someone diagnosed with breast cancer, fatty liver disease, and at risk for diabetes. Feeling desperate, they tried everything. 6 small meals a day, the gym, but nothing worked. Finally, they heard about intermittent fasting. They researched it, gave it a shot, and guess what? They lost over 50 pounds and reversed most of their health problems. Now, let's get to the tips that helped them and might help you succeed. The first one is all about staying hydrated. Remember, while you're not eating during a fast, you can still drink water. In fact, a classic fast only allows water, and it works well for many people. Staying hydrated helps because it can actually reduce hunger pangs. But there are other drinks besides water that can be helpful. One great option is green tea. Green tea is especially good for weight loss for a couple of reasons. Unlike regular tea, green tea is made from unfermented leaves. These leaves have antioxidants called catechins, with EGCG being the most important one. These antioxidants might help suppress hunger and boost your metabolism, both things that make fasting and weight loss easier. Scientific studies support this. When researchers looked at a bunch of studies together, called a meta-analysis, they found that green tea drinkers lost an extra 1.5 to 2 kilograms, 3.3 to 4.4 pounds on average. That's a real benefit. Green tea is cheap, readily available, has been used for centuries, and tastes good. There's no reason not to give it a try. Green tea also seems to increase your metabolic rate. This might be due to the catechins, but also the caffeine content. Caffeine can stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, prompting your body to burn more calories. So these big studies called meta-analyses basically looked at a bunch of other studies on green tea and found something interesting. They think green tea might help you burn an extra 300 to 400 calories a day. Pretty cool, right? The secret seems to be the combo of caffeine and catechins in green tea. These two work together to kind of rev up your body a little bit. It gets more active, needs more energy, and burns more calories as a result. Green tea also helps your body use up more fat and sugar for fuel through these different mechanisms. Remember, catechins are thought to be the main players here. Here's a tip for getting the most catechins. Brew your green tea hot, but not boiling. Hot water can actually destroy some of these good guys. Cold brew green tea is another option, similar to cold brew coffee. Cold brewing actually pulls out more catechins, just like it does with flavor. But don't worry if green tea isn't your jam. Black teas and oolong teas are good alternatives. Black tea is fermented, while oolong is sort of halfway between green and black. You won't get quite as many catechins in these, but they turn into other antioxidants called theaflavins. These might also have some of the same benefits, like helping you burn more energy, according to some studies. Now, to stay hydrated and support your fast, you can also consider coffee. Black coffee is best, but be careful what you add in. A splash of cream is probably okay, but too much sugar, sweetener, or dairy will add calories and slow down your weight loss goals. Bone broth is another drink that can be a great helper during your fasting window. All right, folks, a couple more things to keep in mind. First, remember there are many different ways to approach intermittent fasting. Find what works for you. Another option is herbal tea. These aren't technically true teas because they don't come from tea leaves, but they can be really helpful. Think calming mint or soothing chamomile for nighttime. Lemon tea is another good choice. Here's tip number 2, learn to ride the hunger wave. Yes, you'll get hungry while fasting. It's natural. But the key is knowing how to deal with it. Many people worry about fasting because they think they'll just get hungrier and hungrier until they can't take it anymore. Thankfully, that's not quite how it works. Let's talk about ghrelin, the hunger hormone. Studies have looked at what happens to ghrelin levels during fasting. They took people and didn't let them eat for 24 hours to see how their hunger levels changed. Here's the cool part. Your hunger doesn't just keep climbing the longer you go without eating. It actually peaks and then goes down, like a wave. Think about lunch, for example. If you normally eat at noon, you might feel hungry around 1 or 1:30. But by 4 o'clock, you're probably no hungrier than you would be if you had eaten lunch. That's because your ghrelin levels are back to normal. Your body has used the energy it needs from your stored fat. In essence, you're burning your own body fat for fuel, and that's why the hunger wave passes. So the next time you feel a hunger pang, try something simple, maybe a big cup of green tea. By the time you finish it, the wave will likely have passed, and you can get on with your day. But what about longer fasts? Does the hunger just keep getting worse? Here's another cool thing about fasting. Hunger actually tends to fade over time, not get worse. Studies have shown that your ghrelin levels, remember the hunger hormone, spike on the first day of a fast, but then start to come down. On the second day, they might go up again, but not as high as the first day. This basically means that with longer fasts, hunger slowly disappears. That's why people have been able to do extended fasts for decades. Back in the 60s and 70s, some people even fasted for 30, 60, or even a record-breaking 380 days. How is that even possible, you might ask? Because their hunger pangs largely went away. You can use this to your advantage if you're considering a longer fast. And guess what? Fasting might also help with cravings. Cravings are those intense desires for certain foods like ice cream or sweets. Well, research suggests that cravings actually go down significantly when you don't eat. One study compared a typical low-calorie diet, around 1,200 calories a day, to an extremely low-calorie diet, less than 500 calories a day, which some might consider similar to fasting. The low-calorie diet didn't do much to reduce cravings, but the very low-calorie diet, cravings practically disappeared. Think about it like an itch. If your child has an itch, the last thing you want them to do is scratch it. The same goes for cravings. If you give in to a craving, it's not going to go away. It might even get stronger. The best way to get rid of cravings is to simply not feed them. Over time, they'll fade away completely. All right, so you've learned about hunger waves fading and cravings disappearing with fasting. Now let's talk about some practical tips to make your fasting journey smoother. Since you won't be eating as much, you'll naturally have some extra time on your hands. Here's the key: use this time wisely. There are some things you definitely want to avoid and some activities that are perfect for fasting days. First, avoid social media. Social media is full of food content. People talking about what they've eaten, pictures of delicious dishes, and even targeted food ads. All of this can make fasting much harder. Grocery shopping is another thing to avoid while fasting. Surrounded by all that food, the temptation to snack or break your fast can be overwhelming. Cooking can be tricky too. The smells and sights of food cooking can definitely trigger hunger pangs. Now, what if you're the one who normally cooks for the family? Don't worry, there are solutions. Planning ahead is key. You could cook larger portions in advance that your family can simply reheat during your fasting window. Another option: ask your partner, kids, or parents, whoever you cook for, to grab takeout or eat out for that meal. Maybe send the kids to their grandparents' house for dinner. That way, you won't be tempted by the sights and sounds of them eating. Here's another tip to make your fasting experience more enjoyable. Fill your free time with activities you love. Since you'll be avoiding some things that might trigger cravings, it's important to find positive ways to occupy yourself. First things first, avoid places that are full of food temptations. That means skipping trips to the mall. Think about it. Those delicious smells from the food court are meant to lure you in and make you buy something yummy, like a Cinnabon. Movie theaters can also be tricky. The popcorn scent and the sight of people munching away can be tough to resist. Parties might be another challenge, as food is often a social centerpiece. So, what can you do instead while you're fasting? Plenty of options. Take a relaxing bath, light some candles, add some bubbles, maybe even throw in some bath salts. Put on some music or chat with your family on the phone. Anything to take your mind off food. Feeling organized? Tackle a project around the house. Clean out your closet, organize your shoes, dust those baseboards, all those chores that tend to pile up. Want to get outside? Go for a swim, take a walk in nature, or try a winter sport like snowshoeing or cross-country skiing. Maybe you feel like a scenic drive or a walk with your furry friend. Feeling creative? Read a book, experiment with a Zumba class, or dust off your bike for a ride. You could also browse online for vacation inspiration, something to look forward to. The key is to find activities that keep you busy, relaxed, and happy. This will help you stay focused on your fasting goals and avoid the temptation to snack. Here are some more ideas to keep yourself occupied and focused during your fasting window. Feeling outdoorsy? Take a walk in a field, snap some photos, pick some flowers, or do some light gardening. Call a friend and have a catch-up chat. Or head to the library for some quiet reading time. Even work can be a great way to distract yourself from hunger pangs. There's always something to do, right? Schedule a meeting, catch up on emails, or tackle a project. Here's a trick I use. When I have podcasts to record or interviews to do, I often schedule them for lunchtime. I simply skip eating during this time. By the time I'm done talking, it's time for my next task or meeting, and I've completely forgotten about hunger. Staying focused on the conversation helps the hunger fade away. Before you know it, you've fasted easily and gotten work done at the same time. You might even be able to leave a little early. Remember, planning ahead is key. These tips will definitely help you reach your weight loss goals. Now let's talk about fasting schedules. In the story I shared earlier, the person used a 24-hour fasting schedule, also called 1 meal a day, OMAD. With OMAD, you might choose to eat breakfast and not eat again until breakfast the next day. Or a more common approach is to eat dinner and then not eat again until the next dinner time. Dinner tends to be the most social meal, often shared with friends or family. Skipping breakfast and lunch is usually easier, but some people prefer to eat earlier in the day. Ultimately, the best schedule for you depends on your lifestyle. While skipping dinner might be ideal for weight loss, it's important to balance the benefits with the realities of your social life. Skipping dinner can be tough if you often eat with loved ones. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear from you. Take a short survey and leave a comment below to tell me which tip was most helpful. What activities did you find helpful during your fast? Sharing your experiences can help others. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. See you next time.